Hello there, and welcome to Sleeping Room. It's wonderful to have you here wherever you're listening from. Are you settled into a cozy spot? Maybe a warm chair or tucked under a blanket? Or perhaps you're letting the sound of rain outside your window set the mood. Wherever you are, I hope you're comfortable, because tonight we're taking things slow and diving deep into a story that might just carry you off into dreams. I'm here to guide you through a gentle exploration of the world. We'll wander through science, curiosity, and wonder, but at a pace that feels calm and unhurried. This isn't the place for rushing or cramming facts. It's about soaking in the beauty of the details, letting your mind float freely.
Welcome, discerning minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey. We're diving deep into one of nature's most universally cherished transformations, the changing colors of autumn leaves.
It really is something special, isn't it? That shift in the air, the colors.
Exactly. It's a spectacle that holds such a unique place in our collective consciousness, a true cultural touchstone. And for countless individuals across the globe, it evokes this deeply personal connection to the shifting seasons.
Absolutely. You almost feel it internally, that change.
You do. Just imagine that crisp, invigorating air, maybe that subtle scent of wood smoke drifting by, and then, almost like magic, the landscape just erupts in this breathtaking symphony of reds, golds, oranges.
A real visual feast.
It really is. It's such a powerful signal of transition, a moment for reflection maybe, and for so many people, it's like an annual pilgrimage, right? To witness nature's grand finale.
Yeah, people travel miles for that.
Yeah.
Leaf peeping, they call it.
They do. But while we stand there just in awe of these vibrant, fleeting displays, there's something far more profound happening, something intricate right down at the microscopic level, hidden just beneath the surface of every single leaf.
That's where the real story is.
That's our mission for this deep dive, to peel back those layers, unpack the intricate science behind autumn's breathtaking palette. We've got some fantastic sources guiding us today, including the really insightful Autumn's Palette, The Science of Changing Leaves. It'll be our expert guide, you could say.
Looking forward to digging in.
So our core thesis, the big idea we'll explore, is that autumn leaf color change isn't just, a simple passive shift. It's actually a deeply complex, highly strategic interplay. Think sophisticated plant physiology, intricate biochemistry, and this delicate dance with environmental factors.
It's strategy, plant strategy.
Exactly. It's primarily driven by, first, the methodical breakdown of that dominant green pigment, chlorophyll, then the patient unmasking of other pigments that were always there, hiding, and maybe most surprisingly, the active synthesis of entirely new colors.
Yeah, the new ones are fascinating.
All meticulously triggered by those undeniable, subtle shifts in the seasons. It's an annual masterpiece, but beneath all that beauty, it's really a story of survival.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway, really. Survival.
Okay, so let's unpack this remarkable strategy. Let's begin our exploration with the color that rules the rest of the year, the green.
And what's truly fascinating here, you touched on it perfectly, is how something so visually stunning, so seemingly straightforward in its beauty, is actually the result, the culmination of these deeply complex biological processes.
Right, not just pretty colors.
Not at all. And at their very core, many of these processes are, as you said, about survival. They represent the tree's sophisticated preparation for the lean, challenging months of winter. It's a remarkable, ingenious strategy that's evolved over millions of years.
Millions of years. Wow.
And you're absolutely right, that familiar, pervasive green we see for most of the year. It isn't the only color present. It's actually a brilliant facade, effectively masking an entire spectrum of other vibrant hues, just patiently waiting for their precise moment to emerge.
Hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. Waiting for their cue.
Precisely. So let's start with that dominant, life-sustaining green. For the vast majority of the year, our forests, our trees, even the plants in our backyards, they present this incredible, vibrant canvas of lush green.
It defines summer, doesn't it?
It really does. You can almost envision a leaf as a miniature, incredibly efficient solar panel.
Right.
Highly sophisticated. It's not just sitting there. It's constantly working, tirelessly converting sunlight into energy.
Non-stop energy production.
But what exactly is the secret behind this omnipresent green, and why is that particular shade so utterly dominant throughout the warmer, sun-drenched months of summer?
Okay, to really get it, we need to take a little microscopic journey, metaphorically speaking, into the leaf's inner world,
Let's zoom in.
right? Imagine slicing a leaf incredibly thin, looking under a powerful microscope. What you'd see are several meticulously organized layers. On the top and bottom, you've got the epidermis. Think of it like a protective skin.
Guards the inside.
Exactly. Guards it, regulates gas exchange. Then, just beneath the upper epidermis, you find the palisade mesophyll. This layer's packed, really densely packed, with these long, sort of column-shaped cells.
Okay.
And these cells are absolutely loaded with the machinery for photosynthesis. Below that is the spongy mesophyll. It's more irregular, lots of air spaces between the cells,
Why the air spaces?
crucial for gas diffusion. Getting CO2 and oxygen out, it needs to move around easily. And then dotted all over, especially on the underside, are these tiny pores.
Stomata.
Ah, yes, the breathing.
Obviously, yeah. Tiny gateways regulating the exchange of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and water vapor. Very important. And crisscrossing through it all, the veins.
The plumbing system.
Perfect analogy, transporting water and nutrients everywhere they need to go. Okay, so that's the basic structure. But where does the green actually come from?
Right, the star of the show for green, and really for life itself, is inside those mesophyll cells. We're talking about the chloroplasts.
The little green engines.
You got it. Specialized organelles. Tiny, highly organized cellular powerhouses where the incredible chemistry of photosynthesis actually happens. And inside these chloroplasts, that's where you find chlorophyll,
The pigment itself.
the pigment itself. It's not just any green dye, it's the green pigment. Mostly comes in two main types, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B.
Okay, A and B.
And its chemical structure is remarkably intricate. It's built around this complex ring thing, porphyrin ring, with a single crucial magnesium ion right at the center.
Magnesium, that specific metal.
Absolutely essential. It's the heart of the molecule, the bit that lets chlorophyll actually capture light energy. It's like nature's ultimate light harvesting antenna. It literally kickstarts almost all life on Earth by turning sunlight into usable energy.
That's pretty fundamental.
Understatement of the century. So why do we see green? Why that specific color? It's all about chlorophyll's light absorption properties.
Okay.
It's selective. It doesn't just soak up all colors equally. It mainly absorbs light in the blue and red parts of the spectrum.
Soaks up blue and red.
Right.
Yeah.
But the wavelengths, it doesn't absorb well. That's the green light. So that green light gets reflected away.
Bounces off.
Exactly. And our eyes detect those reflected green wavelengths. That's why leaves look green to us. And these chlorophyll molecules aren't just floating around randomly. They're meticulously arranged inside the chloroplasts on these internal membranes called thylakoids.
Thylakoids. Got it.
This specific arrangement maximizes their light capturing efficiency. Like tiny solar panels, perfectly angled.
Super efficient design.
Nature's had a long time to perfect it. Now this light capture, that's the very first step in photosynthesis. A process so fundamental, we often call it the engine of life.
Right. Creating food from light.
Basically, yes, turning light energy into chemical energy. It happens in two main stages. First, the light-dependent reaction.
Dependent on light. Makes sense.
Yep, happens on those thylakoid membranes. Chlorophyll captures sunlight, excites electrons. They move through this intricate electron transport chain, like a tiny biological bucket brigade.
Okay.
And this generates crucial energy molecules. ATP, the cell's immediate fuel, and NADPH, an energy carrier.
ATP and NADPH, powering the next step.
Precisely. They power the light-independent reactions, also known as the Calvin cycle. This happens in the stroma, the fluid-filled space inside the chloroplast.
Okay.
Here, carbon dioxide from the air gets fixed, incorporated into organic molecules. And through a series of precise steps, it eventually becomes sugars, like glucose.
The plant's food.
Exactly. Energy and building blocks for growth.
The significance of this whole process.
Yeah.
It's huge, right?
Immense. Absolutely immense. It's not just vital for the plant itself making its own food. It's fundamental for global ecosystems, for almost all life on Earth.
How so?
Well, it's the main way inorganic carbon dioxide gets converted into organic compounds. That forms the base of almost every food chain. Directly or indirectly, it supports nearly everything that lives.
Wow.
And as a rather important byproduct, it releases the oxygen we all breathe.
Right. Kind of essential.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
So, back to the original question. Why is green so dominant all summer?
Yeah. Why does it stick around so strongly?
It boils down to a dynamic balance. During summer warm, lots of sun, nutrients available, there's this constant, rapid cycle of chlorophyll being made, synthesized, and then breaking down.
Making and breaking.
Constantly. But crucially, the rate of synthesis, making new chlorophyll,
Mm.
significantly outpaces the rate of breakdown
Making wins out.
by a long shot. The high rates of photosynthesis demand a huge amount of chlorophyll, always active. So this continuous, fast replenishment keeps the leaves saturated with green. Just find a vigorous activity.
Fascinating. So green is king because it's constantly being topped up, basically.
You got it. It's a very active process.
Okay, so the green is the reigning monarch for most of the year, constantly renewed. But then, like a switch flips, those dazzling yellows and oranges start to appear, almost out of nowhere.
The autumn shift.
Yeah. It really feels like they weren't there, and then boom, they are. So this raises that question. If leaves are so overwhelmingly green, where do these other colors pop up from so suddenly as autumn takes hold? Were they hiding? Were they there all along, just waiting?
That's exactly the right question.
Oh.
And the answer, well, yes. In a way, they were there all along,
Really?
hiding.
Yep. We're talking about a group called accessory pigments, primarily carotenoids and their cousins, the xanthophylls.
Carotenoids and xanthophylls. Okay.
Unlike the reds and purples we'll get to later, these yellows and oranges are always present in the leaves. They're not made new for autumn.
So there's summer residents, too.
Absolutely. They're working quietly behind the scenes all summer, doing really important jobs, even though their colors are completely drowned out by all that green chlorophyll.
What kind of jobs? If they're not the main photosynthesizers, well, they're accessory pigments. Think of them as helpers in photosynthesis. Chlorophyll is the main star, but carotenoids and xanthophylls help harvest light energy across a broader range of the spectrum, especially blue-green light that chlorophyll isn't great at grabbing.
Expanding the energy capture.
Exactly. But maybe even more critically, they provide photoprotection.
Photoprotection, like sunscreen.
That's a perfect analogy. Built-in sunscreen for the leaf. They protect the delicate photosynthesis machinery from damage by too much light.
Leaves can get sunburned.
In a manner of speaking, yes. Too much light can overwhelm chlorophyll, damage it, and lead to the production of harmful things called reactive oxygen species, free radicals.
Ah, free radicals, heard of those?
Right. These accessory pigments step in, absorb that excess energy, and safely dissipate it, often as heat. They prevent damage. They're like tiny bodyguards for the chlorophyll.
Wow. Okay, so they're helpers and protectors.
Absolutely vital ones. Let's look closer. Carotenoids are the yellow and orange group. Beta-carotene, like in carrots, that's one. Lutein, found in egg yolks and leafy greens, another.
Okay.
Their chemical structure lets them absorb blue and green light. And just like chlorophyll reflects green, carotenoids reflect yellow and orange. That's the color we see. And besides light harvesting, their protection against photooxidation is key. They scavenge those free radicals.
Cleaning up the potentially damaging stuff.
Exactly, like internal fire extinguishers, neutralizing sparks before they cause harm.
And xanthophylls, you mentioned them too.
Right, there's a specific type of carotenoid. They contain oxygen. Examples are violaxanthin, zeaxanthin. They play a key role in something called the xanthophyll cycle.
Sounds dynamic.
It is. It's a rapid process where one xanthophyll can be quickly converted into another, depending on the light intensity. This cycle is crucial for non-photochemical quenching.
Non-photochemical quenching. Bit of a mouthful.
It is. But basically, it's a super clever way for the leaf to get rid of excess light energy it can't use for photosynthesis. It converts that extra energy into harmless heat, like a safety valve.
Prevents overload. Very smart.
Extremely. Plants are masters of adaptation. So the big reveal. How do we finally see these yellows and oranges in autumn?
Yeah, the unmasking.
It's all about the chlorophyll fading. As the days get shorter and temperatures drop those key environmental signals, the tree starts to change gears. It slows down, then stops making new chlorophyll altogether.
Okay, production stops.
And the existing chlorophyll, which is actually quite unstable, especially sensitive to less light and cold, starts to break down rapidly.
It degrades quickly.
Very quickly.
All right.
The carotenoids and xanthophylls, they're much more stable molecules. They degrade far, far more slowly.
So they hang around longer.
Much longer. So as the dominant green pigment vanishes, fades away, these pre-existing yellow and orange pigments, which were there working hard all summer, are finally revealed. Their colors shine through.
Ah, so it really is like pulling back a green curtain.
Exactly. That's the perfect image. The vibrant colors were always behind it, just waiting for their moment.
That makes so much sense. Okay, yellows and oranges revealed, not created. But
Right.
what about the reds? The fiery reds, the deep purples, they seem different. They don't feel like they were just hiding. They feel new.
You're absolutely right to feel that. They are different.
They just appear with such intensity. So are they the same deal as the yellows, just a different pigment that was masked? Or is something fundamentally different going on?
Something fundamentally different. You've hit the nail on the head. This is where anthocyanins come in.
Anthocyanins, the reds and purples.
Exactly. And the key difference is, unlike carotenoids, anthocyanins are synthesized anew in the autumn. They are made fresh.
Made fresh just before the leaf falls off.
Precisely. They are not present in significant amounts during the summer. You wouldn't find much if you looked. Their production is an active process, specifically triggered by autumn conditions. It actually costs the tree energy to make them.
Wow, okay, that is different. Where are they made in the cell? Not the chloroplasts.
Good question. No, not the chloroplasts. Remember, chlorophyll and carotenoids are in the chloroplasts, the energy factories. Anthocyanins are stored in the cell's vacuole.
The vacuole, that big storage sac in the middle.
That's the one. It holds water, nutrients, waste products. And in autumn, these newly made anthocyanin pigments. Being separate means they don't directly participate in photosynthesis like the others.
Interesting. So what are they chemically?
They belong to a group called flavonoids, and they're usually attached to sugar molecules. They're glycosides.
Okay.
And what's really cool is how their color can vary. The same basic pigment can look different depending on the conditions inside that vacuole.
How so?
The main factor is pH, the acidity of the cell sapper. Acidic conditions tend to make them look bright red. More neutral or slightly alkaline conditions shift them towards purples, even blues, though true blues are rarer in leaves.
Like a natural pH indicator.
Exactly. Plus, things like metal ions or other molecules can tweak the color too. This chemical flexibility explains why we see such an amazing range of reds and purples, from scarlet maples to deep plum dogwoods. It's the same basic pigment type, just expressing itself differently.
Nature's chemistry set. Okay, so they're newly made. What triggers the tree to start making them?
Several factors need to line up. First, and absolutely crucial, is light. Bright, sunny autumn days are essential. Highlight intensity provides the energy needed to synthesize anthocyanins.
So cloudy autumns mean duller reds.
Generally, yes. Without enough bright light, the reds will be muted or might not show up much at all, even if other conditions are right.
Okay, light is key. What else?
Sugars. A buildup of sugars in the leaves is critical. Photosynthesis doesn't just stop dead in early autumn. The leaves are still making sugars.
Right.
But the transport of those sugars out of the leaf starts to slow down.
Why does it slow down?
Mostly because the tree is starting to form that abscission layer, the seal at the base of the leaf stem. It creates a bottleneck, trapping sugars inside the leaf.
Ugh, trapped sugars.
And those trapped sugars are both a building block and a powerful signal to start making anthocyanins. More sugar often means more vibrant reds.
Makes sense. Light, sugar. What about temperature?
Very important. Low temperatures, specifically cool nights that stay above freezing, are vital.
Cool, but not freezing. Why?
These cool nights help slow down the breakdown of chlorophyll, giving more time for sugars to accumulate. They also seem to directly promote the anthocyanin production pathways. But if a hard frost hits,
Game over.
pretty much. A killing frost can abruptly halt all those delicate enzyme processes. The leaf might just turn brown quickly instead of developing vibrant reds. Conversely, if it stays too warm for too long in autumn, the color change can be delayed and maybe less intense.
So you need that combination. Sunny days, cool nights.
That's the recipe for the best red displays. And one more factor. Sometimes stress can trigger them too.
Stress. Like what?
Things like nutrient deficiency, especially phosphorus, or maybe drought or even physical damage to the leaf. The plant might produce anthocyanins as a kind of protective response, though the display might not be as uniform or widespread as the seasonal one.
Okay, so the tree makes these energy-expensive pigments right before ditching the leaves. Why? What's the point? It seems counterintuitive.
Excellent question. Why bother? Scientists have several compelling ideas, and they might all play a role. The leading hypothesis is photoprotection.
Like the carotenoids, but maybe even more important now.
Exactly. As chlorophyll breaks down, the leaf's photosynthetic machinery becomes really vulnerable to damage from sunlight, especially on those bright autumn days. Anthocyanins act like a powerful sunscreen, absorbing excess light, preventing photooxidative damage.
So they shield the leaf while it's doing its final tasks.
Precisely. It allows the leaf to continue that crucial process of salvaging nutrients without getting fried by the sun. Buys it valuable time.
Okay, photoprotection, what else?
They're also strong antioxidants. They help clean up those reactive oxygen species, the free radicals, that are generated during stress and senescence. Keeps the cellular machinery working smoothly during breakdown.
Cellular maintenance crew.
Sort of. And another really big idea is that they might actively help with nutrient reabsorption. By protecting the leaf, they could make the whole process of breaking down proteins and pulling back nutrients like nitrogen more efficient.
Helping the salvage operation.
Right, making sure the tree gets back as much valuable stuff as possible before the leaf drops. Nitrogen is particularly precious for next spring's growth.
That makes a lot of sense from a survival perspective. Any other ideas?
Yeah, some more outward-facing ones.
Yeah.
Maybe pest deterrents. A bright red leaf might signal to insects like aphids, hey, I'm tough, low in nutrients, maybe even toxic. Go find somewhere else to eat.
A don't eat me sign.
Could be. It's an active area of research, this coevolution between trees and insects. And finally, maybe some kind of internal signaling within the tree, or even to other organisms, but that's still being explored.
Wow. So anthocyanins are much more than just pretty colors. They're potentially shields, antioxidants, salvage assistants, and maybe even warning signs.
They're multitaskers for sure, a really fascinating part of the autumn story.
Okay, so we've covered the greens, the yellows, oranges, reds, and purples, a whole chemical symphony. But what about the end of the line? Those muted, earthy browns that often signal the final curtain call.
The last stage.
Yeah. Are browns pigments too, or is that something else entirely? The mark of decay.
And stepping back a bit, what environmental factors are really conducting this whole show, pulling the strings?
Right, the browns. They are fundamentally different. They aren't pigments made by the plant to reflect specific colors in the same way. Brown is mostly the result of degradation and oxidation after the cells start to die.
So breakdown product.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's the final stage, revealing waste products and the results of oxidation. A major contributor is tannins.
Tannins,
Yeah.
like in tea or red wine, that make your mouth feel dry. Exactly those. They're complex phenolic compounds. In plants, they often play a defensive role, making leaves taste bad to herbivores. But as the leaf senesces and cell structures break down, these tannins get exposed to oxygen.
And they oxidize.
Right. They react with oxygen and turn various shades of brown. So the brown is partly the color of oxidized tannins accumulating as waste.
Okay. Anything else making it brown?
Yeah, just the general oxidation of other stuff, breakdown products of chlorophyll itself, other organic molecules. As they degrade and react with oxygen, they tend to form compounds that absorb light pretty broadly, which gives those duller brown and even blackish hues.
So brown basically means the leaf's work is completely done. Metabolism is stopped.
Pretty much. It signifies the cessation of metabolic activity, that the salvage operation is complete, and the leaf is ready for shedding.
Okay. Now, the orchestra conductors, the environmental cues, what's really triggering all this?
The single most important cue, the primary trigger, is photoperiodism, the shortening of day length.
Less daylight.
Exactly. As the days get shorter after the summer solstice, the tree senses this. It has internal clocks and special light receptors in the leaves, called phytochromes.
Phytochromes, like light sensors.
Very sensitive ones. They detect that decrease in daylight duration, and that signal initiates a whole cascade of chemical messages within the plant. Signal transduction pathways.
Domino effect.
Good way to put it. Leading to hormonal changes that kickstart senescence and prepare for abscission, the leaf drop. Day length is the main calendar cue.
Okay. Day length starts it. What modulates it? Makes some years brighter than others?
That's where temperature comes in. It's the fine-tuner. Crucially, those cool nights, remember, above freezing.
Right. Cool, but not freezing for the reds.
Yes, and also they generally help slow chlorophyll breakdown and promote sugar accumulation. They intensify the whole process. But a sudden hard frost, that can shut things down prematurely. Quick browning, duller colors.
And warm autumn.
Extended warm spells can delay everything, maybe lead to a less synchronized or less intense display. Temperature really sets the pace and quality.
What about sunlight levels during autumn?
Light intensity is vital, especially for those anthocyanins, the reds and purples. Bright, sunny autumn days fuel their production.
More sun, more red.
Generally, yes. Cloudy, overcast weather, even if it's cool, often leads to duller reds, more dominated by the yellows and oranges.
Okay. And water. Does moisture matter?
It does, though maybe more subtly. Moisture levels. Drought stress can cause leaves to drop early or colors to be duller as the tree is just trying to survive. Adequate water supports healthy processes and potentially brighter colors.
Makes sense. Healthy tree, better display.
Exactly. And related to that is soil nutrients. Overall plant health matters. Trees in poor soil might not put on as spectacular a show. And that nutrient reabsorption process we talked about, that's influenced by nutrient availability too. It's all interconnected. Day length is the trigger, but temperature, light, water, and nutrients all shape the final performance.
It really is an orchestra. Amazing coordination. So it's not just colors changing. The leaf is actively preparing for its exit, a carefully choreographed departure.
Absolutely. Strategic shedding.
So what exactly happens when a tree decides, so to speak, to let go? It's more than just falling, right? There's a
Oh,
process.
definitely. It starts with senescence, that programmed aging of the leaf. It's highly regulated, a genetic program, not just passive dying.
Programmed aging.
And the most vital part, as we discussed, is that nutrient remobilization, the salvage operation, breaking down proteins, chlorophyll, nucleic acids, pulling back nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium into the tree's permanent tissues, branches, trunk, roots.
Saving resources for winter and spring.
Exactly. Specialized enzymes do this breakdown. It's incredibly efficient. Then comes the actual shedding,
Abscission.
the letting go.
Right. This happens at a specific zone called the abscission layer. It's at the base of the petiole, the leaf stalk, where it joins the branch.
Okay. What happens in that layer?
A few things. Cells in this zone start to weaken the connections between them. Enzymes like cellulase and pectinase get to work, degrading the cell walls, essentially dissolving the glue holding cells together. This creates a weak point, a clean break line, like perforations on paper.
Good analogy. And crucially, at the same time, on the branch side of this layer, a protective layer forms, often made of corky, superized cells
Protective.
to seal the wound. Once the leaf falls, this layer prevents water loss from the tree and blocks pathogens, bacteria, or fungi from getting in. It's like a natural scab forming before the leaf detaches.
Very clever, planned wound sealing.
Exactly. So eventually, only a few thin vascular strands are holding the leaf on. A breeze, maybe rain, or just gravity and snap. The leaf detaches cleanly, leaving that sealed scar behind.
Wow. Such a neat process. Hormones involved, you mentioned.
Big time. Hormonal regulation is key.
Mm.
A decline in auxins, hormones that usually inhibit shedding, makes the abscission layer sensitive. Then, ethylene, the ripening hormone, ramps up. Ethylene promotes the formation of that layer and activates those wall-degrading enzymes.
Ethylene says go.
Pretty much. Abscisic acid, ABA, is also involved, often linked to stress and senescence. It helps fine-tune the timing. And cytokinins, which normally delay aging, their levels drop, allowing senescence to proceed. It's a complex hormonal conversation controlling the whole thing.
Amazing. Okay, so that's how they fall. But back to the colors themselves. Does every tree just end up brown eventually? Or do they have, like, a signature style, genetic differences determining their autumn wardrobe?
Definitely the latter. There are huge species-specific differences on top of geographic variations.
Geographic variations, like latitude.
Exactly. Higher latitudes have more dramatic day length changes, often leading to more synchronized, intense displays. Altitude matters, cooler temps higher up, proximity to water moderating things, even the slope of a hill affecting sun exposure.
Right, local climate details.
But the type of color you see, that's largely down to the tree's genetics. Each species has an inherited tendency, a predisposition, to produce certain pigments more readily.
Their default autumn palette.
You got it. Think maples, Acer, especially sugar maples,
Right.
famous for brilliant reds and oranges. They have a strong genetic capacity to make lots of anthocyanins.
The red specialists.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then look at oaks, quercus, often more rusty reds, browns, some yellows. That suggests a mix of tannins becoming visible, maybe some anthocyanins, but generally less vibrant than maples.
More earthy tones.
Right. Now, birches, betula, and poplars, populus, like aspens, typically pure, bright yellow.
Ah, the carotenoids showing through.
Exactly. Little or no anthocyanin production. Their beauty is that clear, golden glow. Dogwoods, cornus, often give us those deep reds and purples, almost wine-colored.
Nice.
And the ginkgo biloba, an ancient species, it turns this incredibly pure, brilliant, almost fluorescent yellow. A perfect example of carotenoids dominating completely.
Wow, distinct personalities.
Very distinct. So environment dictates the timing and intensity year to year, but genetics determines the potential palette. It's nature and nurture working together.
That's astonishing. It really drives home that this isn't just for sure. There's a profound ecological purpose behind it all.
Absolutely. It's deeply functional.
So what does it all mean for the wider ecosystem, the forest floor, the soil, the animals, and the big question these days? How are we humans, especially through climate change, impacting this incredible natural cycle?
The ecological significance is huge. Number one is nutrient cycling. That whole process of pulling nutrients back before leaf drop, that's vital for the tree, but also for the forest. When leaves fall and decompose, they return organic matter and minerals to the soil, feeding microbes, fungi, other plants. It's the foundation of forest fertility.
Recycling on a massive scale.
Truly. Then there's pest and pathogen management.
Hmm.
Shedding leaves gets rid of infections or insect infestations that might otherwise overwinter on the tree. A clean slate for spring.
With shading off problems.
Exactly. And we talked about the anthocyanin signaling to aphids. That's part of this interaction. Then there's water conservation. Losing broad leaves drastically cuts down water loss during winter when water might be frozen or scarce.
Smart move for winter survival.
And just adapting to winter conditions generally. No leaves means less surface area for snow and ice to build up and break branches, less wind resistance. It's streamlining for winter.
Makes sense. Okay, now the human impact. Climate change. How's that affecting things?
It's a major concern, and the effects are complex. Warmer temperatures, especially in autumn, are definitely tending to delay color change and sometimes reduce intensity because those cool night triggers are weaker or later.
So later, maybe less vibrant falls.
That's the trend in many places. Increased CO2 is tricky. Some studies suggest it might actually reduce color intensity, maybe by altering nutrient cycling or signaling. Others are looking at how it affects the timing of senescence itself. It's not straightforward.
More CO2 isn't necessarily better for color.
Potentially not. Changes in precipitation, more droughts, more intense rainfall also stress trees, impacting their health and thus their autumn display. And longer term, we might see shifts in species distribution. Trees that produce brilliant colors might struggle to survive in certain areas if the climate changes too much.
Altering the whole landscape's palette over time.
Could happen. Then there's air pollution. Ozone, acid rain, they can damage leaves, affect senescence, lead to duller colors or premature drop.
Urban trees might show this more.
Yeah. Plus cities have the urban heat island effect. Warmer temperatures in cities often mean later color changes compared to surrounding countryside. And just general urban stress impacts tree health.
The people love the colors, right? Ecotourism.
Huge. Leaf peeping is a significant economic driver in many regions. That actually provides a strong incentive for conservation efforts. Protecting forests, sustainable forestry, researching climate impacts. It's not just ecologically important, it's economically valuable too.
Protecting the golden goose, so to speak.
In a way, yes. It highlights the need to preserve these ecosystems for multiple reasons.
It's so clear there's just layers upon layers here. The science really does deepen the appreciation, doesn't it?
Immense.
We've covered so much, from molecules to ecosystems. But even with all this knowledge, nature still keeps some secrets, right? What are the big unanswered questions? What are scientists still trying to figure out?
Oh, absolutely. Plenty of questions remain. A big one is really nailing down the full function of anthocyanins. Is photoprotection the main story, or are the signaling roles like that honest signal to aphids more important than we thought? How does that interaction really work?
Unpacking the why behind the reds even more.
Exactly. Also, understanding the complex interplay of environmental cues at a finer level. How do temperature, light, water stress interact precisely at the molecular level to control the timing and intensity? Predicting fall color accurately is still really challenging because of these complex interactions.
Improving the fall forecast models.
Essentially, yes. Then there's the genetic basis, identifying all the specific genes that control pigment production and regulation in different species. Why is a maple and an oak, genetically speaking, when it comes to color? Understanding that helps us understand evolution and potential adaptation to change.
The blueprint for color.
Right. And urgently, understanding the impact of extreme weather events. How do severe droughts, floods, storms affect autumn colors and tree health long term, especially as these events become more common?
How resilient are these processes?
That's the question. And finally, the broader ecological consequences. If senescence timing shifts or nutrient cycling changes, what are the knock-on effects throughout the food web? On soil health, on insects, on birds, on mammals, it's all connected.
So many threads still to pull on.
Definitely, it keeps researchers busy. But if you step back, the overall picture is just awe-inspiring. The interconnectedness, from microscopic pigments doing their jobs to these vast, stunning landscapes.
It's a true masterpiece.
It really is, a
Yeah.
testament to natural selection, physiological adaptation, survival strategy wrapped in beauty. And understanding the science, the how, it just makes you appreciate the what even more profoundly.
It really does.
This whole annual cycle is such a powerful reminder of nature's resilience, its constant adaptation. It really drives home why we need to observe, understand, and cherish these natural wonders.
Well said. So, a final thought for everyone listening. The next time you walk through a forest ablaze with autumn color, pause for a moment. Consider not just the sheer, undeniable beauty washing over you, but think about those hidden survival strategies playing out. The chemical marvels inside every cell, the grand ecological ballet in every single leaf. And maybe ask yourself, What other everyday natural wonders, if we really looked closer and understood them, might reveal an even deeper, more profound story? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
As we come to the end of our journey tonight, I want to thank you again for joining me. Whether you've stayed awake through every word or drifted softly into sleep, I'm glad we could share this time. Remember, the story doesn't end here. It's just a pause. The world is full of wonder, and there are always more questions to explore, more mysteries to uncover, more moments to savor. If you enjoyed tonight's calm exploration, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, and please consider subscribing. It means so much to me, and it helps keep this peaceful space alive for all of us. Sleep well, dream deeply, and let curiosity guide you into tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Good night.